Hey gorgeous, welcome to the Miracle Magnet Babe podcast. My name is Dori and I'm a certified manifestation coach, life purpose coach, and my mission is to inspire you to find your true purpose and passion so you can live the life that you were always dreaming about. I'm taking you to a journey with life coaches, manifestation experts, spiritual leaders to help you to uplevel your life, improve your mindset, and use proven methods for your self development. My goal is to help as many women as possible and to create something that can help you to be the best version of you and live your absolute best life. So, good afternoon, everybody, and let's welcome the beautiful Devin on today's show. And she is a life coach and a career coach, and she helps women to find their passion and their dream career. She studied at Stanford University, and also she is a certified Gallup Strenght Coach. After years, she found her real purpose, and now she's helping other women to find their dream career and live their best lives. So thank you, Devin, for being here with me today.
Thanks, Dory. It's such an honor to be here and to speak to you and your audience.
Yes, and I was looking forward for this interview so much because I see so many interesting details and stories of your life. So I'm really excited to hear more about you.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. It's been a wild journey. It's definitely not linear, but I love every twist and turn. It leads us where we're supposed to go, I believe.
Yeah, so can you share how did you become a coach? What was your journey? How did you
Yeah,
start?
definitely. So I never knew that you could even be a coach or that life coaching or
Mm-hmm.
career coaching was a career that someone could have. But I was, like you said, I was at Stanford University where I studied international relations. So I was studying political science and languages. I studied Italian and I love cultures and just helping people to understand the differences between us and that the things that make us, more similar than they make us different. And so I went from there into marketing, and I loved marketing. I loved that it really kind of utilized my skills of talking to people and being friendly and creativity. And that was a really great career for me. But then the company I was working for actually got sold, and I was now looking for a new job. And one of the things I learned when I was in college at Stanford, I took a class called Designing Your Life. And
Mm-hmm.
that class changed the trajectory of my whole life and my whole career and the way that I think about my life, because it actually taught us to use design thinking principles. So creativity, empathy, iteration, ideating, creating prototypes. And it said you can use this to solve problems like the question, what do I want to do with my life? It doesn't have to be something you use just to solve an engineering or a computer science problem or challenge. And so my professor there, his name is Dave Evans. He became a dear mentor and friend. He wrote a great book called Design Your Life, if you're curious. But he taught me a lot about how to see every crossroads in our life as an opportunity to experiment and to have fun. And so when I was at that crossroad of now my company has sold and I don't have a job right now, rather
Mm-hmm.
than just taking the next step, which is to go get another job immediately, I started looking out and asking people who loved their jobs, what do you do? And can you tell me about it and why do you love it? So right there, I started to become a career coach a little bit because I was really taking curiosity in other people's work. And I sat down with a friend who had this really cool job title called Gallup Certified Strengths Coach. And
Mm-hmm.
we were supposed to have just a 30-minute coffee date, and it turned into a 4-hour coaching conversation.
Wow.
It was incredible, yeah. And he was telling me things about me. I barely knew this guy, but he was telling me things that you would have had to know me my whole life, because he had this tool called the Strengths Finder, which is a personality assessment that is a psychometric test, and it tells you about your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And so I was hooked, and I decided to become a strengths coach. And then so I became the youngest ever certified strengths coach. And then that led me into coaching college students to know their strengths and figure out their majors. And then I realized not only college students need this, but women in the workplace, they need to know who they are and what makes them happy. So then I started coaching other people, and then one thing led to another. And now I work fully independent, and I help people not just with careers. That's a big reason why people come to me, but also just if women are feeling kind of stuck or unhappy or unfulfilled, there's something missing and they don't know how to articulate it or how to make it happen. And I help them to really unlock what's within them and any of the fears that are blocking them so that they can have what they truly want and make sure that they believe that it's possible for them.
How did you become a career coach? Is it something like that you developed during the way, or you studied specifically the career area?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was hired at a university that has an office of strengths and careers. So I didn't have formal training in career coaching until I got the job, and then I learned it on the job. So I learned things like how to interview, how to write a good resume, how to find a job, internship, all of that. So I learned that on the job when I was working at a university. But you can actually, there are people who go to who get master's degrees in it. So there is career counseling master's degrees and career coaching master's degrees. But for most, so there's two different kind of categories. There's like career and academic coaching, which usually works within an organization. And then life coaching are usually independent people, and they will get certifications through a variety of means. But there's a lot of education out there that you can pursue if you want to be a coach.
Yeah. So when a person asks for your help, how do you start with them? What's the first step that they need to take to find their purpose or find their dream career? How long does it take for them? How long do you work with the clients?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I usually work with clients for a minimum of 3 months because figuring out what you want with your life takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of breakthrough, and it takes a lot of really getting to the core of your own true desires. So that's what I will start with the client is I'll say, let's imagine you could have any job in the world and you don't have to worry about salary. You don't have to worry about location. All of that is worked out for you. Let's just say you could have anything you wanted in your life. What would that be? And surprisingly, everyone has an answer, but they're afraid to go for it. They're usually afraid to go for it. Or they have multiple different ideas, like, well, I have 5 different things that I really wanted to do. And then they don't know how to make a decision.
So why they are scared of the idea of their dreams?
Oh, well, because there's a lot of reasons. So the first thing could be, what are people going to think about me if I do this thing? If I go, I leave my corporate job and I go become a therapist, or if I don't use my degree in computer science and I become an artist, what will people think of that? That's a huge reason. So preconceived notions or society's expectations of us are a huge one. Also, what our parents will think of us, especially if they paid for your education or your university. There's a big fear in letting them down.
That's a big one.
Yeah, it's a big one. And that's totally valid. And I really respect that one. And I spend a lot of time helping my clients through that because it's a reality. A lot of parents do feel frustrated if their children aren't successful, if they were the ones who supported the child. But what we have to really realize at the end of the day is that most parents want their children to be happy more than anything. So if you can relate to your family why this thing that you're pursuing makes you really, really happy, even if it's hard, even if you're not making a lot of money right now, but it's making you happy, then usually the parents will get on board eventually.
And how about that aspect that people say that they're not good enough on that field, or they don't have education on that field, or they don't have experience?
Totally. Yeah. Fear of failure is another big one. Fear of failure or thinking they're not worthy enough. That's huge. So I think with that, I see that a lot with people who have a lot of creativity. but they're afraid that they'll try something and then they will look stupid or they'll fail and people will see them fail.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I work with my clients through a lot is, so what if you don't try at all? What would you be losing then? Because I actually think the bigger failure is just to never attempt the things that we desire and to have a dream die with us rather than actually try.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that failing is the worst thing that can happen. I think that, missing your life is the worst thing that can happen because we play safe or we play the sidelines or we think, oh, she deserves that, but I don't. And so helping women find their own worthiness is a huge piece of this process. Because we have these preconceived notions of like, oh, like we could, you and I each have, right? We each have a definition of success, and we each have an idea about who successful people are. And if our idea of success and our idea of ourselves are two separate things, then we won't create success because we feel like we're not worth it. Mm-hmm. So what we have to do is integrate those, is to create your own personal definition of success and then say why you're worthy to have that and why it doesn't only belong to other people, but why you get to have it too. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So how can you help the other person to develop their mindset to go for it, to do finally what they really want to do? What methods can you use or what techniques can you use for them?
Yeah. So first they have to really figure out what they want. I think finding that personal definition of success is huge. Like anybody who's watching this after this video, I would say go to your journal and write success to me means, and then define that, because you might be surprised about what comes out. Because if you're not conscious in creating a definition of success, you will adopt a subconscious, you will just adopt any definition of success that you've heard before. Right? And then when you look at that, you think, oh, this is actually possible. I don't have to be a millionaire. I don't have to be a CEO of a company to be successful because that's not my definition of success. So there's a lot of power in claiming success for yourself in the way that you want to have it. So that's the first thing that I would work with on a client. And then also being really clear and manifesting what it is that they want. Mm-hmm. So say you want a job in a fashion organization. Like you've always wanted to work for, I don't know, anthropology, like corporate anthropology, because you love that brand and that's something that you really desire to do. So then what we would do is work on really manifesting the vision and the belief of you walking into that job that first day and where you're going and what you're wearing and what it looks like, so that they can start getting a little bit excited about this possibility. And then from there, we work on the tactics. So actually meeting people, working on your resume, finding the job, going out for coffee dates like the one that I did, mm-hmm. because getting a job and getting your dream career is a lot about the relationships that you build. So first we build the belief, and then we build the relationships, and then hopefully you get the job. That's how I work with my clients. Yeah.
Your clients are, like, for example, they want to be entrepreneurs or they go for a different career, like just to work for a company, or what's their goal?
It's a whole range. So I have entrepreneur clients. I have clients who are moms. I have clients who want to work in big companies. I have clients who work in startups. I have clients who work at universities. So it really runs the gamut. But I think at the core is what they want is to have a life that's true to themselves. And so what they do is an expression of their personality and part of their identity, and really what makes them come alive, because part of it is figuring out, just what do you enjoy doing and learning about. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily have to be so profound as my purpose all the time. It can be like, I love to ask my clients, what podcasts do you listen to? What books do you read? What shows do you watch? Because those can all be clues to like a possible career. Because if you're doing it in your free time, then maybe you would like to do it.
That's what you like to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know you have a program which called the Soul Career. Can you share about that a little bit? What does it include? Who can apply for it? what is it exactly?
Yeah, so the Soul Career it's an online program that I do via video chat with my clients. So I run it either in one-on-one format, like we're doing right now with a video, or I do it in a group call. And it's a 12-week program that helps women to get clarity on their career dreams, to break through the blocks and fears that are holding them back, and then to have the tools to make it happen. So I like to say that it's part soul, part strategy of really knowing like what lights you up? What is it that you want to leave as a legacy here? What is it that you want to do every single day to bring purpose into your life? And then also here are the strategies to make that happen.
I love this.
Yeah, so some people will use it to start their own business, which is great, and other people will use it to go get a really cool dream job. And you know what's also funny, Dory, is that some people will take the course and they realize the job I have is actually really great. A lot of it is the mindset that I bring to my job. And also, if I just were to change a few little things, I could really, really thrive here. So there's a whole range of different responses that we get, but that's how the program works. And I work with women exclusively. Most of my clients are between 25 and 40. And
I was going to ask what's the age when people realize that they need some change or they need to work with a coach to find something in themselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've probably heard of the quarter life crisis.
Yeah.
And so that's when I feel a lot of people come to me, especially most of my clients are very high achieving women. They're smart, they got good degrees, they've worked hard, they've had maybe good job titles, made some money, but they're just like, oh, this isn't fulfilling me. And so that's where they feel like they've reached the end of their resources, like they don't know what to do now because they thought they did everything that would make them happy and they're not happy. And so that's where they start looking for outside help, and that's where I come in to help them.
And I know you share a lot about yourself and your past on your website, on your Instagram. And so can you help us a little bit how we can develop self-love, self-care, overcome the lack of confidence, or overcome fears that we may have?
Yeah, it's a huge journey. It's something that I get really passionate about and even a little emotional because it's something I care about so much. So I feel like my career coaching is a conduit for me to help women just to know themselves, love themselves, trust themselves more. And so self-love is a huge, huge part of that. And some of my clients are only self-love clients. That's all we work through because it's something that we weren't taught as children, really. We were more so taught what we do wrong and how to improve the things that are bad about us. You know, whenever we're getting disciplined or when we're in school, it's like this is right and this is wrong. And good kids do good work. They get A's and so on and so forth. So when we're born within a system that really rewards like behavior only and doesn't look at the worthiness that you have as an inherent human, it's very hard to love yourself unless you're achieving. You know, it's like for me at least, it got really wrapped up. My worthiness and my achievement were like totally entangled. And so I didn't know who I was if I wasn't succeeding or if I wasn't making a lot of money or if I wasn't, dating a lot of people or something like that. And so I realized I was on a retreat several years ago and I said, I think I'm my own worst critic. Like that's my relationship with myself. I don't love myself or even like myself at all because I spent all of the time just trying to create a false self, a false version of me that everyone else would approve of. So the first thing in helping people develop self-love is to learn how to shed anything that we created in order to just make other people feel comfortable with us, which is a really hard process. And it's a journey because so many of us are wearing masks because we want to be safe. And that makes sense. Belonging is a critical piece of human thriving. You know, we're social creatures.
So how can we overcome on these fears that we have a mask on and just to put it down and just be our true selves? How did you overcome on that?
I mean, it's a very lengthy process. I did a lot of therapy. I did a lot of hypnotherapy. So it's not like something that you can just do overnight. But I've gone and worked with many coaches to unravel old trauma. So anything like our personality, for instance, is our coping mechanism. So anything that we use to keep us safe, we start. I think it's important for you to realize, like, I'm grateful that I developed that coping mechanism as a child, but I no longer need it anymore. So we see this a lot. Like, tragically, we see comedians like the beautiful Robin Williams. He committed suicide, right? Because there was a deep darkness and a sadness, but he had a mask that was so strong that he felt like he needed to wear it all the time. And so when we can remove the mask and feel like we're loved without those coping mechanisms, that's super powerful. So, I mean, practically what this looks like is I would say everyone should go to therapy. I think therapy is the most beautiful thing ever. It's such a gift. And what we have to do is make the unconscious conscious. So that's mindfulness, right? Knowing why we operate the way we do, knowing our triggers, knowing how we react to the world rather than respond to the world. And then when we heal those triggers, then we won't feel so anxious all the time because we like things will happen around us and we can look at them objectively without being so activated.
How we work on these things.
Yeah.
I know personally I use journaling and meditation. What else we can do?
Yeah, so journaling and meditation are amazing. Being mindful of how you feel in your body. I think it's really great to, after you have an experience that brings up a lot of emotion, to sit down and ask yourself. I use this model that I learned from another life coach. So, what was the circumstance? What were the thoughts that I had about the circumstance? What were the feelings that those thoughts created? What was the action that I took? And what was the result? So that's a super useful model because we might have a really strong experience where, you fight with your mom or your boyfriend, or you get so mad because your tire broke down, you got a flat tire or whatever. And a lot of us will like have that really intense experience and then walk away. And then 2 months later, it'll happen again and we never heal it. So when you sit down and you ask, what were the triggers that led me to do those things? A lot of times we'll find that there's three main things that we're either afraid, we're ashamed, or we're sad. And those three things cause us to act out. But our inner child needs to feel safe, comforted, and loved. And that's how we stop having those strong reactions and we start to actually be able to respond. Because our inner child is no longer saying, oh my gosh, I'm in danger, I'm in danger. The inner child now is safe and the adult can respond to the situation.
And we need to develop that mindset and thinking how we can respond as an adult, right?
Yeah. But you have to spend time with that inner child because the child will want to throw a tantrum and the child will want to cry and we can't shut them up. We have to say, like, I see you and I know that this is hard for you. Because a lot of our parents, like, I believe our parents do the best they can with the knowledge they had. But they weren't perfect. And so now as adults, we have the responsibility to reparent ourselves for the things that we maybe didn't get as children.
So how can you take care of yourself? And when you say self-care, what is your self-care?
So first, my self-care is my mindfulness, just knowing what I need and knowing what I'm experiencing as often as I can. So being conscious of myself is huge. And when from that consciousness comes the activity. So I like to start with each person, you have to know what are your unique needs and how to fulfill those. Because a bubble bath, might work for somebody, but another person might need to go for a run, or go kickboxing class. So you have to really tune into what you need and making that conscious. And then the other part of self-care is fulfilling that need, not just letting it go or choosing the easy way out, which is like I'm going to watch Netflix and eat ice cream. Sometimes that's self-care, but there's a difference between self-care and self-soothing or like numbing out. So I always try to do self-care that's very conscious self-care, conscious of my needs and what I need in this moment. So mindfulness, I use a lot of body stuff. So I do a lot of body touch with like lotion, essential oils, anointing myself. I love baths. And I love nourishing myself. So eating really good, healthy food is another way that I care for myself.
Yeah, I love the baths too.
Yeah. I just took one last night and I was like, I need this.
Me
It's really
too,
great.
same. I put my crystals and the oil in the bath and the salt, and
Yeah.
it's just so good.
Yeah. The water is really cleansing. It feels like you just kind of like are rebirthed sometimes.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
being the relaxation and just do nothing, that's a main part for me because
Yeah.
since the morning I wake up, I just go, 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 do it, do it, do it, and then there is no relaxed time. So I really need that time, that just a little time when it's just me and just in peace.
Yeah, that's good. So that's like really conscious of like what you need is time and quiet, and that's how you can fulfill that. Hmm.
How can you teach your clients to take care of themselves and to love themselves?
Yeah. Well, I teach them to see themselves through the eyes of someone they love. So maybe for them, that's like God or the universe or their mother or their best friend. Because when we see ourselves from someone else's eyes, we usually have a lot more grace and love towards ourselves. I teach them to look at the ways that they are already amazing and beautiful and wonderful, and to really focus on that because we so easily go to the critique and what needs to be improved, and we forget to relish in what's already going really well and how we're already an amazing human being. Um, so I teach them to start with that. One of my favorite practices is also to keep a photo of you as a child somewhere visible. So mine is right here by my desk. It's me from being 2.5 years old. And I love that because sometimes it's hard for us to love. Like I'm 28, like loving me at 28, sometimes it's like, oh, Devin, you should know this by now. Like you should already be like good at this. You shouldn't be struggling with this anymore. But when I look at the 2.5-year-old, it's like, it's so innocent. And you can say like, oh, she's still learning and she needs love and she needs safety and she's okay. And there's nothing wrong with her. And so I encourage every client to get a picture of themselves and just to look at it every day because that you can start healing the relationship you have with the child, seeing that child as you, and then you can grow and get to the point where you see yourself in the same way today.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful thing. I love it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite practices. There's also I love the self-touch practice. So I encourage. We actually release oxytocin if we touch ourselves. So that same cuddle hormone that you get during cuddle or sex or birth, oxytocin, we can get that ourselves if we touch ourselves, like
Wow,
rubbing our
I didn't
arms,
know
rubbing
that.
our legs. Yeah, even stroking your hair, like you can release that. It takes a little bit longer, but you can. And so whenever we are feeling really bad about ourselves, we can start with like loving the body, and that can release whatever is blocked for us mentally or emotionally too. So I love, and like part of my story was not loving my body. Like that was a huge fear and a huge block. And so I had to spend time after the shower looking at myself in the mirror. And like I had to become comfortable with my body. And actually now I love my body. Now I'm like happy to be naked. And I used to be so afraid of it, but it's baby steps. So you can start by just like saying, I love my hair or I love my smile. And then we grow and we let that expand beyond just one thing so that we accept all of ourselves and love every piece because every piece is good and perfect exactly as it is.
Yeah, I think that's a huge one for, especially for women, that we don't love our body, or we always
Mhm.
find something that's just not right and we want to change.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true, and that's the society that we grew up in. That's what the media shows us, is that we're never thin enough or beautiful enough, or our skin's not, there's always something, and that's how they make money.
Yeah,
So
right.
when we take our power back and say, no, you external source, this other thing doesn't get to tell me if I'm beautiful. I tell me that I'm beautiful. That is the most empowering thing, because beauty standards are completely arbitrary. They've changed through generations. We look at like Renaissance art, and all the women were so voluptuous, and that was the standard of beauty. And then it became like to be thin, and then it was no butt. Now it's big butt. So it's like it will drive us crazy if we just try to meet society's standards. And if instead we decide for ourselves, like we decide success for ourselves, we define beauty for ourselves. That is claiming your power.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, if somebody after this interview would be ready to take action and find their purpose, find their dream job, find their dream life, what would be your 2, 3 tips to start with?
I'm glad you asked me that. So, the first thing I always say is, in order to have a life you love, you have to love the life you have.
Mm-hmm.
So, in order to have a life you love, you have to love the life you have, which means starting with gratitude and finding beauty in your current life. And somebody might be listening to this and saying, no way in hell, like, I can't. This is so hard. I hate my life, or I'm so miserable, or yada, yada, yada. There can be so many reasons. And I know that sometimes life is very hard. But what we do when we find joy in our current circumstances is we change the vibration. We totally change our energy. And if you are in gratitude, if you're in joy, you're going to be attracting so much more goodness to you. If you're in scarcity or fear or negativity, it's a block. It's an energetic block to any good things, and you actually attract more negativity. So I encourage everybody, whoever is feeling uncomfortable or unhappy with their lives, find something to be grateful for today. Like, maybe you have a job and you hate the job, but you have a job. And there are millions of people, or probably millions of people who don't even have jobs. So starting from there, that's the first step I would take. The second step I would take is ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Because if you don't have the life that you currently want, it's because you didn't create it yet. And most likely it's because you're afraid of what it will take to make it happen. So what am I afraid of? Because a lot of us are afraid of failure, but a lot of us are also afraid of success, afraid of being seen, afraid of being rejected, afraid of being seen to fail, afraid of having too much responsibility. So that would be the second question. And then the third question would be, if I was not afraid of anything, what would I do?
And that would give us the answer, I think, for just to start out.
Yeah. Yes, because when we release fear, I mean, fear is a powerful, powerful thing, and it holds us back. But when we release it, we can, like, anything is a possibility.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing everything. It was really wonderful to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
Maybe in a second interview we can talk about your European journey, since I'm really into the traveling and all this abroad journey. I would love to hear about those as well.
I would love it. I would love to come back, Dory. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in into today's episode. If you loved and enjoyed the show, please share it with someone else who would enjoy it as well. And also, don't forget to subscribe or turn on the notification so you don't miss out on the next episode. If you are not following me on social media, please send me some love at Miracle Magnet Babe on Instagram. And if you take a screenshot of today's episode, please post it and tag me. It always makes my day and I can repost it in my story. I love you and I can't wait to share my next episode with you.